You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. By going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, you can make this possible.
I'm sure you heard the truth that Erica just spilled here about the lack of protection for black women. Could you give us some more insight on that?
Absolutely. I think that she was so spot on when she mentioned that black women in this country are the least protected and the most despised. I think that is symptomatic of the fact that we are not only women, so there's sexism, but it intersects with the fact that we are a minority for black women. So racism and sexism that intersect to create a very explosive environment for us.
And so what can we do as a community to better protect ourselves? I almost feel like as black women, we're caught between a rock and a hard place. Because on the one hand, it's as if we're often attacked for being too strong, for being too independent, for having to hold it down for ourselves. Because you saw that sister was going in there trying to protect the other woman. There's no man coming to their defense. But on
right, and then you see the third woman coming in.
Absolutely. So we're chastised for being too masculine in that way. We're not feminine enough. But at the same time, if we don't protect ourselves, who will?
Precisely. So historically, black women are seen as either a vixen, a sexualized, overly sexualized character. We're also seen as the strong black woman who will, to her own sacrifice, she will take on the world's problems, her family's issues, suffering some mental health issues as a result, or you see the angry black woman. Anytime that we are attempting to protect ourselves, we're attempting to assert who we are just as a human being, we are seen and categorized as angry. I see this all the time in my practice when I work with young black professional women, and they are either fired, reprimanded, for very benign offenses, and they're seen as angry when they're being assertive, and they're coming in with chronic anxiety, vicarious trauma from watching videos such as the one with the two women in Pittsburgh. And what really happens is it starts to break and weigh on our psyche, which of course is going to affect us in our everyday life.
So we have a couple of questions from the panel. Thank you so much. First, Derek.
Sure.
I was going to ask Ms. Anderson, that was a brutal beatdown. And it was hard to even watch. So as a therapist, what would you say, what kind of long-term effect is that going to have on those young ladies, and how would they go about even trying to heal themselves from something like that? I can see that just happening.
So the first thing I want to make clear is that racism is trauma. So even if you are not physically injured, your person is still safe, or you don't have any physical injury. Racism is a mental and psychological trauma. And unfortunately, as African Americans, that is something that we're exposed to very, very early, even as early as kindergarten studies will show you. So on top of that, the physical violation of the person exacerbates the racial trauma. So my recommendation immediately to lessen the occurrence of PTSD would be to get them in with a licensed therapist. The sooner that there can be an intervention, the less likely they are to suffer the long-term effects of violent crime. There will absolutely be some effects, but the sooner that there's an intervention, the less likely there will be one that is severe.
I had a question as well.
Yes, and so this is Erica Savage, and thank you so much. My question for you is, I read in your video, you talked about meditation as a way to create some level of balance. Could you talk a little bit more about the meditation piece?
Sure. What I found is that we as African American women aren't taught to care for our whole selves. We are taught that you grind, you get it the best way that you can, like you don't stop, right? And so our psyche, our spiritual selves are going to suffer. So even if you're not religious or spiritual, or you don't have a God that you worship, just being still, just being able to connect with the present moment is so powerful. So when we look at women that experience chronic anxiety, where they're very concerned about what's happened in the past, or they're very worried about what's happening in the future, you are missing the present moment. Meditation quiets the mind and the body and allows you to connect with the present, which will overall improve one's mental health.
And quickly, Joanne, I wanted to have one quick question.
Sure. So I have younger sisters and a younger brother. How would I train them to understand how to cope with racism in the workplace or even in the academic setting?
It's very, very important that we choose, number one, the academic settings that we're putting our children of color, particularly African American and Latino children in, because studies show us that our children are criminalized. There was just a young 6-year-old girl and a 6-year-old boy that were arrested in Florida last week as a result of typical adolescent behavior. So it's important that you put your children in a place, first and foremost, that understands the cultural implications and nuances of the African American child. The other part of that is people are fearful that if we talk about this, then it will somehow cause it. But it's so important to talk to your children about the differences that they may be perceiving in society, in class. Are they more apt to be called upon for disruptions? Are they told that they are loud and disruptive, while other kids of another race are doing the very same thing but not getting the same type of reprimand? So those kinds of things, them being self-aware and emotionally intelligent, to be able to convey to their parents and caregivers that I feel a little odd, I feel different, I feel left out at school.
C. Anderson, thank you so much for joining us. Your perspectives have really been so important. Thank you so much.
All right, folks, back to that Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, folks, you've heard me talk a lot about marijuanastock.org because I want to keep you informed of investment opportunities that make sense. We've all watched the growth of the cannabis industry. A recent report by New Frontier Data estimates the global cannabis market at more than $340 billion. We know that marijuana legalization is sweeping the country state by state. We also know that marijuana has a good cousin, the hemp plant, with a much higher concentration of CBD. That means hemp gives you all the medical benefits of marijuana without getting you high. Until recently, hemp farming was practically illegal in the United States and heavily regulated by the DEA. However, that all changed with the 2018 Farm Bill, creating one of the largest commodities worldwide. They need land to grow all the plants, and that's where our friends at 420 Real Estate come in. Their business model is pretty simple. They buy land that supports hemp CBD grow operations and lease it to licensed high-paying tenants. That's right, they are hemp CBD landlords, and you can get in on the action. Now, 420 Real Estate is given something special for the Roland Martin Unfiltered family. Originally, the minimum investment was $500. You can now get in as little as $200. This is a crowdfunding campaign going from $200 up to $10,000. Again, this is a $340 billion global industry that is still growing. You can participate with as little as $200. To invest, go to marijuanastock.org. This is marijuanastock.org. Get in the game and get in the game now. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video.